previously.
If bound to a person, Azrael's doll will resurrect them when they die. One of the ingredients is a materialized forest spirit.
Is there an angelic law forbidding common witches to use the power of these dolls?
That's just what I told the ageless sage because I didn't want him to present them to the magic community.
Randy and I experimented a little with some fancy glowing dildo in the vault. It made me look like him, and him like me.
The Mamminis need something called the Potion of Ultimate Power.
Elise, you made it.
I curse you with delirium.
This is my son.
It's a changeling. God help us.
Come inside, Elise, or you'll freeze to death. Speaking of which, it's time to unfreeze our guest so we can ask it a few questions.
Sure you don't already have all the answers? Because you're from the future, you're supposed to know everything, and it's honestly kind of scary when you don't. The scientist in me has always envied you for your nigh omniscience.
I'm sorry, but it's true. 22nd century homeschooling schedules don't include the topic of changelings. In case you're worried about it trying to curse you again, it only did that to get to me, so it's probably safe to assume that I'm the only one in danger.
Still, I might end up making things even worse. This is my fault after all. Seems like the real me is an even worse person than my alter ego. Normally that wouldn't bother me, but when my family is involved...
I didn't think you'd take Aaron's words to heart.
That hypocritical Bible thumper can kiss my ass. It's Evelyn and my nephews that I'm worried about. When I created the alternate timeline on Sulani, that other me, the Obsidian Witch, was working with Prudence Lacroix and willing to sacrifice a family member to Mount Magma, something I would never do. But what if she had good reason? What if she knew that David's alter ego was a demon child? And I brought that child into this reality. No wonder the angels wanted me gone.
I have to admit, I've never been your biggest fan. In the past I remember, you caused the calamity. But what happened today was not your fault. You did bring over an alternate version of your nephew, yes, but he got possessed by the forest spirits of this timeline. The same could easily have happened to the original David under similar circumstances, and we're about to help him. He's going to be fine.
But that still leaves the problem of him not being the original. You knew all along, but didn't tell the Mamminis, or my family. I owe you for that.
There are many things I don't tell them, for many different reasons. Trust me, omniscience is not always the blessing you make it out to be. But in this case, some knowledge couldn't hurt, and Tiamo and Wilbica probably won't find this particular knowledge in the magic realm, or else they would have told me. In the future, I mean.
You're right. Well, let's not keep the others waiting then.
I knew something was wrong with this kid, but once again, nobody asked the dog's opinion, and now we're all in trouble for it.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around this. So your family has always been magical, even back when your son and I were dating?
You were what?
I became a witch when I was Tiamo's age, but he and Wilbica were born this way, yes.
If it's any consolation, you're not the only ordinary human who was fooled by these sinners. I should have suspected this, with all the strange things that kept happening in their presence.
You were suspecting it. You just weren't smart enough to actually prove it. Be smart now and let it go, because if you're planning on following in Prudence Lacroix's footsteps and coming after us when this is over, I won't be as indulgent to you as I was in the past.
Ah yes, Prudence. My wife's friend who died under mysterious circumstances shortly after her disdain for witches became known. Did you have your dirty witch finger in that pie too?
You're outnumbered, Aaron. Even the rest of your family fled upstairs because they couldn't bear you anymore. So maybe you're the problem here, not everybody else.
The problem is what's become of my son, and that's what they fled from, not me. I demand that you fix David so we can be a family again.
We'll do what we can, but you're not helping, so do us all a favor, step aside and shut up.
How rude, Loki. I didn't know you had that in you. You're adjusting after all. I like it. Are we ready?
If the forest spirit possessing Daisy's body is like the ones we encountered in the woods, it should be trapped within the spiritual square. And in case it tries to curse us again, we have a silver moon crystal from the top of Mount Como Rebbe to protect us. So yes, we're as ready as we can possibly be. Elias?
David, can you hear me? It's me, your father.
Really? What do you think this is? An episode of Sailor Moon where you can just talk the monster to death?
To be fair, it does usually work on Sailor Moon and on Mass Effect.
Where am I? What have you done? Oh, I understand. You stopped time, didn't you?
An oddly specific accusation, considering all the other, less outlandish methods I could have used to knock you out, like poison, a curse, or simply a well-placed blow to the head. Does that mean that those methods couldn't have worked and that time manipulation is the only effective weapon against your kind?
Besides sacred candles, that is.
I didn't think that power still existed among witches, but I'm not here to play 20 questions with you. Let me go.
We will, as soon as you let go of the body you're possessing, Changeling. He's just a child. He hasn't done anything to you.
Of course he's a child. If you have a name for my kind, you should also know that we prefer children. And I don't see the black-haired witch girl anywhere, so I'm afraid this is the body I'm stuck with.
Was that David's voice?
Yes, he's moving again, but it's still not him. Not really.
I don't know what happened. 10 days ago we were a completely ordinary family with completely ordinary problems. But then David started acting strangely. Now he's possessed, my sister is a witch, and your father is losing his mind. What is wrong with the world?
We'll figure it out. I'm certain of it.
Does it at least look like they're making progress down there?
Not yet, but perhaps Wilbica and Tiamo will be more successful in the magic realm.
What do you mean there are no written records on that? Just an hour ago you were bragging about how invaluable these books are, that some of them are even more ancient than your fashion style, and what that means for your prestige as the local librarian. Now you're telling me you've never heard of changelings.
Correction, that was 2 hours ago, and this library contains only the truth, not fairy tales. Since no one knows anything about those so-called changelings, they probably fall into the latter category. But if you're so knowledgeable about the subject, may I suggest you just write that book yourself?
May I suggest you go fuck yourself?
Even if this creature originates from a fairy tale, it's very real now, terrorizing our family as we speak. The people of Mount Komorebi refer to it as a changeling, but it never formally introduced itself to us, so perhaps the magic realm knows it under a different name.
A demonic creature that possesses children, whose eyes turn black when it casts curses that can even hit people who are otherwise immune to magic? Doesn't ring a bell, sorry. But as I said, feel free to explore this phenomenon, document your findings, and write your own book about it, which I hear is what you do for a living anyway, and if I deem it worthy, it might even be added to the magic library. Now excuse me, I have some real problems to take care of.
Like your hairstyle?
Yay. The one person in the magic community who knows that I'm a famous writer on the other side of the portal just has to be an unhelpful asshole. Now what? Do we comb through all these books ourselves?
Or just one of them? Remember back when we were faced with a hellhound, the common library didn't have information about that either, but there was one ancient book that told us how to deal with it in fairy tale form. The same fairy tales that Tally di Cazzo Piccolo dislikes so much.
The Tome of Ageless Tales, yes. It's probably in the other library downstairs. You think it might contain a story about changelings too?
Let's find out.
The storm is getting worse. Is that your doing too?
Are you going to blame me for every little thing now? Like your thoughtless decision to visit one of the coldest places on the planet with no warm clothes, your older nephew's unsightly hair color, or your sister and her husband's marital crisis.
Evelyn and I don't have a crisis.
Like hell you don't. In the short time I've known you, you've done nothing but argue like an old married couple. But you're not even that old, just a married couple, which means you have a crisis.
So I'm not the only one who noticed. Good. Or not good.
Who asked your advice on human relationships?
Your own kind did. Back when the wishing tree by the shrine in the woods still belonged to us, humans would come by every day to wish for something, usually love. generous as we were, we did everything in our power to fulfill those desires, until the witches interfered, and now look at you. A hypocritical couple too pious to admit that they may have married too young, an embittered old man with 3 dead wives, a lonely divorced witch with a son who will never find love as long as he keeps looking for it with his genitals, and a daughter whose mind is too old for her body, a prison sentence waiting to happen to any potential suitors. If you had been kinder to me, I could have helped you with these problems.
You were the one running around casting curses left and right until we stopped you, so don't play the innocent victim here.
You act like I was trying to kill you, when I was merely stopping you from interfering with my business, for your own good.
Business that obviously has something to do with me, so how about, instead of analyzing our problems, you tell us what your problem is?
Right now, it's being trapped in this spiritual square, and the longer you keep me here, the angrier I will be when I get out. But I have all the time in the world, and your candles will burn down eventually, so if you want to play the waiting game, fine by me. Because I will win.
I can't stand this thing any longer.
Me neither. It's getting late anyway. Come Suki, we're leaving.
Wait. You're not supposed to leave your spot by the sacred candle while a spiritual square is active.
There's enough people in this room to take my place while the changeling is frozen. But you heard its warnings, and you better take them seriously. I'm not risking my life because of something you did to piss off an ancient spirit.
I'm sorry. He must have been hurt by what the changeling said about his dead wives.
Damn it. What do we do now?
Don't ask me. You're the one in cahoots with demons.
What's up? Any new insights?
If only. I don't even know what that thing is.
Great, so you're not omniscient after all. Neither am I, that's why we're working on this together.
But how can this be? I'm as ageless and durable as a vampire, but not weak to sunlight or garlic. I can breathe underwater and control the weather like an air person, but don't need to be wet to do so, and electricity doesn't bother me any more than an ordinary mortal. I'm also a very powerful witch, at least somewhat familiar with all 13 branches of magic, because I had a century to study them all. Yet still, I'm completely powerless against that creature in the living room. There has to be something I'm overlooking.
Perhaps it's like you, a crossbreed, but of even more different species, and older. And there seems to have been an entire society of them at some point.
Which is precisely why I should know about them. Not too long ago I came to this very place to learn more about the nature of Asriel's dolls. How could I be so stupid not to look into the vengeful ancient spirit race that is used to assemble them?
You came here with the ageless sage, if I recall correctly. Maybe that was him trying to erase all traces of their existence.
No. I was the one who convinced him not to share our findings with the magic community because of some angelic law I invented, remember?
So you think, but we're talking about the oldest, most powerful and most guileful witch ever. He might have known that this angelic law was bullshit, but went along with it so he didn't have to tell you the real reason he wanted to keep this hidden.
But what could that reason be?
Fear that it could inspire witches to procreate with different occult species, perhaps? He's never been a fan of crossbreeds, probably because they're too powerful and uncontrollable for his liking. Just like those changelings.
Libraries, books, ancient scrolls. This is starting to feel like university all over again.
Keep at it. Not a word about changelings in the tome of ageless tales so far.
Then what makes you think we'll find the information elsewhere? Maybe Tally was right and this just isn't the place to look.
Do you have a better idea?
Ask the ageless sage. This could be a threat to all of us, so even if he can't help, we should at least let him know what's going on.
I could use a few more details indeed. Tally told me you were asking for information about changelings, but nothing specific.
My name is still Dantelian.
So you do know about them. Why isn't there a book on the subject?
There is a reason. But first, you have to tell me what happened. Are fairies causing trouble in Mount Komorebi?
Fairies?
That's what they used to be called. I'm surprised you haven't made this connection, given that the term changeling derives from old stories about fairies switching human babies with their own. That isn't entirely accurate, since fairies look nothing like humans in their true form, and the deception would be noticed immediately. So, rather than switching babies, they would possess them.
What do you do when someone is indeed possessed?
Modify their body in a way so it can no longer accommodate the invading spirit, thereby forcing it out. Fairies can live for up to 1,000 years and are very powerful, but also rather simple-minded. They only possess children up to a certain age because adult minds are too complex for them.
What are you suggesting? Waiting for Daisy to grow up so the fairy leaves voluntarily?
Or having someone else, preferably an adult, possess the child simultaneously. Not a very common ability, but I hear Loki is quite adept at it.
He is. I have to tell the others at once. Time to leave this useless library.
Excuse me, how dare you speak about our library like that?
I ask again. If those changelings, or fairies or whatever, are so dangerous, and you knew about them all along, why is there no book, or other accessible information on how to defend ourselves against them?
They were supposed to be extinct, so I didn't deem it necessary. Well, at least until I went to Mount Komoribi and encountered the forest spirits. But I figured if I didn't tell anyone and we left them alone, they wouldn't bother us either. I was wrong.
Now would be a good time to start writing it down. And all the other secrets as well while you're at it, just to be prepared for the next time someone stumbles upon an ancient creature you believe to be extinct.
That's a rather dark chapter of our history. Some stories should never be told, and this is one of them. But if your family succeeds in defeating the fairy that has taken over the body of your friend Daisy, we may never have to speak of it again.
Hey, I'm not done talking to you.
You really think this will work?
The ageless sage does. He wouldn't lie to us about something so important.
You mean except for that one time he told Loki he didn't know anything about the forest spirits, just to suddenly come up with a plan to defeat them now?
I'm not crazy about it either, but we have no other choice. I'm sure David's parents are not willing to wait for him to grow up to get the fairy to leave.
No. Please do everything in your power to help him.
Well, in that case, just tell me when you're ready.
Now.
What's happening?
They're fighting for control over Daisy's body.
Daisy?
No, Loki. The fairy is gone, but I can't guarantee it won't come back. We should take Daisy to the magic realm for protection.
And what would this protection look like? Even more of your perverse rituals. No thanks. We didn't have these problems back home, so that's where we're going, and everything will be okay again. Now leave my son's body and get out of here, all of you.
Why is Aaron so fucking stupid? He knows Daisy could get possessed again, and we may not be around to save the day another time.
Especially since he's made it clear that he will no longer tolerate us anywhere near his family from now on.
It's his decision, nothing we can do. But the child seems fine for now, if a little confused.
If by fine, you mean that he's gone back to being mute and miserable, then yeah, he's totally fine.
We also got his aunt out of the angel's prison and assembled a working spirit doll for Tiamo, so our work here is done.
Yeah, he got a taste of an angel's purity after all. Who would have thought?
Speaking of Tiamo, where is he?
I lost him in the magic realm trying to get rid of some snobbish librarian who wouldn't stop lecturing me about the value of his stupid books. Say, have you ever heard of the Duplantiers?
Heard? Yes, they're quite famous in the magic community, but I've never met any of them.
Be glad. And let's hope Tiamo got out of the magic realm safely before that family's youngest spawn found him again.
You're meditating. The spirits of the 13 witches are visiting to hear about your progress as the leader of the magic community. Tell them everything you know about fairies.
Once upon a time, the fairies resided in the magic realm, which wasn't always a cluster of islands floating over a bottomless abyss in a separate dimension, but part of Glimmerbrook. The fairies coexisted peacefully with humans until the witches came along.
More, tell me more. What other secrets are you keeping? Why did Lorenzo Mammini leave his family 15 years ago?
It was the result of an argument with his wife about her refusal to sacrifice their children for the greater good, even though she had promised to do whatever was required to support the magic realm in exchange for her witch powers. As punishment, I took away their son's powers and cursed their daughter with agelessness.
So you cursed me. Charmaine told me as much. I've always felt like an outsider in my own family thanks to you. But was it not enough to take my powers away? Did you also have to take my father?
That was Aya's decision. Are you more angry with me, a stranger who cursed you, than with your mother who made an important decision that affected your life without ever telling you about it?
Who knew I was powerful enough to brainwash the boss of the magic community? One of the few perks of my accelerated transformation into a wraith, I guess.
Tiamo, you're back.
Do I know you? What are you doing at my house?
It's me, Leviathan. Weird, I know, but it's all because of that damn relic. The last spell that turned me into Grande and the other way around just wouldn't wear off, so we used the relic once more, and it exploded. At least Grande looks like himself again, but I'm stuck like this, and a female alien friend of yours who came by at the wrong moment is now a man. What's so funny?
Well, everything. Thank you, Lev, really. A good laugh is exactly what I needed right now.
You're so mean.
Oh please, don't act like a pussy just because you have boobs now. Rather large boobs. Say, have you ever wondered what sex feels like for a woman?
Not really, but now that you mention it, it does sound like an interesting experience.
You're currently in the unique position to make that experience. Loki refers to it as coitus.
I'm surprised Loki would even touch on that subject at all.
I don't like talking about it either. I prefer doing it. And I need to get out of this hot skiing suit anyway. Perhaps you'd care to lend me a hand.
I'll gladly lend you more than that.
What's with the new body? The Bell's son was perfect for our purposes, and luring him into the woods for you to possess wasn't easy, given how little he cares about the world at the moment. Why would you throw that away?
Things got complicated. You didn't tell me that my target was such a powerful hybrid.
I expected you to be even more powerful. At least you made it sound that way, with your stories about the almighty fairies who will stop at nothing unless someone stops time.
They also have a witch who can do just that.
Elise? How the hell did they get her out of the Angel's prison? I thought she was gone forever. Oh well, never mind. What do you have for me?
A reminder of our deal.
And now you expect me to hold up my end of the bargain, even though you failed me? That's not going to happen.
I curse you.
Do your worst. I've learned from our last encounter and got myself a silver moon crystal from the top of the mountain. I bet its protection is stronger than your curse.
Emiko, where are you?
Mommy is calling. Oh no, someone must be way past their bedtime.
This isn't over yet.
Hey little one, I've been looking everywhere for you. What were you doing here? I know, the town is scary at night, isn't it? All the more reason to go home quickly.